Milsurp Garage, back with you here as promised with the Winchester 1890. Winchester 1890 is a John Browning design. This is what got me into these things, because I was a big John Browning collector and fan, not really a gallery gun fan or collector. But this is an early John Browning design. If you're a John Browning guy, this is very early in the design history of John Browning, and of his affiliation with Winchester, actually, too. So, yeah, it's almost like you have to have one of these things as like a John Browning fanboy. But what I didn't realize is how this was going to turn me on to all these different gallery guns. So I'm going to stick with these gallery guns for a while on this channel too, just at least until like summer comes, when I have some more military surplus stuff I could throw out there, but then I want to do shooting videos, and it's way too cold. I live in a northern climate here. It's way too cold to be doing shooting videos right now, so I'm going to stick with these gallery guns. Summertime, we're going to move back to a couple of military things here and there, but I got a bunch of these guys, and this is going to be cool. Like once a week or so, I'm just going to post up a video of one of these and have fun with it. So, John Browning. John Browning made only a couple of Winchester lever action guns for Winchester before this guy. Now, Winchester asked him, make a pump gun, because I think that had something to do with wanting to compete with Colt. That was they had some kind of agreement where they would do lever guns and Colt would do the pistols, the revolvers, and they would kind of stay out of each other's hair. I don't know if this was a legal agreement or just a handshake between them. You know, from what I read back then, the manufacturers kind of all shared workers, and they kind of always had agreements to be able to better each business. They would have like handshake agreements over what they would do and what they would cover, so that there was less competition between the two, so that they would all prosper. So supposedly they had an agreement where they would make the lever action rifles and Colt would make the revolvers, and they would stay out of each other's hair. But Colt made a pump action rifle, and Winchester didn't really have anything to go up against that, and there really was no agreement over the pump action stuff. So the slide action, I think is what they called it then. So they kind of asked good old John, who had a couple of cool designs under his belt already for them, for Winchester, make us a slide action gun. So he came up with this design. Let's go from back to front on this thing here. Look at this cool butt plate, how well that's fitted to the wood. Gorgeous. Straight stock, upper and lower tangs here. These are takedown versions. They load through a magazine tube, but eject out through the top here. So it's there's no side, actually absolutely no entrance to the receiver area from the side, and even when they close and they lock up, very well sealed receiver, you know, and strong lockup here with these two locking lugs sinking into that mortise like that. Very strong. Single action bar, and this loading tube does not travel with the slide with the fore end. It stays stationary. Cool front sight here with the screw instead of the stepped ones. You see some of these, they just have like a piece of metal that slides in there that has steps in it. This is much more adjustable, like to be it's almost like a micrometer kind of sight, you know. The octagon barrel, the loading tube here, which these loading tubes are essentially a magazine. If you're not familiar with these, they are essentially a magazine. They have a follower here, spring loaded, and this is the magazine body itself. That slides into the tube. You load the rounds through here, and then when they're all loaded in there, it fits 15 of them. When they're all loaded in there and you push this down, you could see the follower there. the follower goes up against the rounds, and as you push the rounds up into the magazine tube, and it's spring loaded, so that's what forces them down this way. And these crowns, a lot of them, they're just cut flat like that. And this really cool dovetailed front sight. Now, the innovative design that Browning had here was the carrier. The thing was that up until this time, nobody really had a way to reliably feed these 22 shorts, because this rifle is 22 short only. That's it. No longs, no long rifles in here. Just 22 shorts. And nobody was able to cycle these things reliably in a repeater. And John Browning used a design that used a finger that let the rounds into this carrier one at a time. And worked. Not only worked, but worked flawlessly. It was an excellent design. And this rifle, this design was actually going to be for lots of rifles, all kinds of, bigger bore, like centerfire centerfire rounds. And Winchester just kind of left it as a 22 rifle and never really expanded on it to for larger calibers. So this design itself here is way overkill for a 22 short. This is super strong for what they're made for, being that Browning actually designed it for much higher pressures, And of course, these are takedown models. Let's do that right now. Show you how this is a very simple one too, a very nice and easy takedown procedure with these. And here you could see this design that this is what did it. Something going on here wasn't going on before. That's the thing about John Browning designs. They're awesome when you look at them, but you really have to take them from the context of what was around before that. What innovation did he come up with? It's not just that he was a cool designer. If you just looked at this, even if 100 people before him had made rifles that do the same thing, you would look at his designs and they would be more efficient, they would function better, they would still be a genius design. But what really set him apart was that you study these Browning designs and you go from gun to gun and you look at them in their own historical context. In other words, what was around before it was they didn't have what he designed, you know what I mean? And then when you look after it, you see that everybody else followed that design. So when you look at other designers, you go like, oh, well, I'm not into like guns designed by different designers. But if you have them and you poke around and you really look at how they're designed, you notice that they follow what he did before. He was an innovator. And something's going on here that they didn't have before. It certainly looks like this might be that finger that I was talking about that, I had just read. It's not like, yeah, this is cool. This is cool. I remember when I first got this thing, I did like my own little master class on, reading and learning about it. But now it's just kind of coming back to me. I remember that the round butting up against this was an important part. This was an important part of this design, and how it kind of ejected and fed around at the same time. I wish I had 22 short snap caps so I could show you how. It's kind of cool to watch how these actions work, but I only have long rifle snap caps, so I'm not able to do that, unfortunately. Now, with these, the takedown mechanism is so cool. It goes together very easily. And I need some help, actually, with this one. Somebody's going to have to help me out here. I have an issue. And the issue is that normally with a exposed hammer gun like this, you're not going to see any safety. There's no crossbolt safety. There's no thumb safety. The safety is basically this half cock position, whereas it locks up the slide. The trigger cannot be pulled, and if the gun is dropped, if you have a round chambered, if you drop the gun, you see I can't push the hammer any further forward to contact basically that's the firing pin right there. So you see in the normal circumstances, the hammer would hit here and push that forward. That's pushing the firing pin into the rim of the cartridge. But at half cock like this, that movement is impossible. The trigger pull, nothing, and no movement here to accidentally cock it this way. Only if it got hit like that and got cocked would that be a danger, because then it would fire. As long as it got hit because if it got hit this way, it wouldn't be like the hammer would be able to be forced into the firing pin. However, the problem I have with this one, and what I hear that this happens with a lot of them, is even in this half cock position, the hammer will drop if I pull the trigger. Now, I don't know if it drops hard enough to set off the round that's there. If you see, there isn't much space between the hammer and the firing pin. I don't even know if that would be enough to set it off. Maybe, maybe not, but the bottom line is it shouldn't be doing that. And I had read online once, a guy said what part you needed to replace to fix that. And he actually had a link to it on eBay, and I followed the link, and the link went to an item that was sold, but it did list what the item was. I looked and couldn't find another one for sale, and I said, you know what, I got to go, maybe Numrich has that. And I wrote it down and then lost it, couldn't find the link, and now I don't know what part it is that the guy said he replaced that part, and then it functioned flawlessly after that. So if anybody knows what part that is, and not your guess, I got a million guesses, I just want to know exactly. Someone that knows these 1890s and goes like, yeah, that is a common thing, this is what you got to replace, boom, I just want to know what part it is. Thank you. And also, wait, one more thing, forgot. This bolt is in the white, as you can see, and I want to know if somebody could tell me why that is. It has some markings here. See if I could get them in. There you go. Now you can see them. It's kind of like a number and then a triangle and a circle. So there's the markings. There's a guy at a gun show that I go to every year who has like 15 of these on a table, and that's all he ever sells, and every time I go he has the same 15 ones there. So he doesn't sell them because he has them. They're beautiful, but he has like high prices on them, and it's just he's not like a gun dealer. He's just a collector. This older guy, and the bottom line is he loves those things, and he's not selling them cheap. So he just goes to the gun show and lays them out on the table. It's kind of like I just go and look at the same guns every year. Even that guy couldn't tell me like what he goes. He's like, I think I might have seen one like that once or twice, but I never fixed them. I just kind of got rid of those. I don't know, so I figured thought that guy would know, but even he wasn't sure. But if there's somebody that collects these things and knows, let me know why the bolt is white, and let me know why the hammer drops like that. What else we got here? I guess that's about it. Yeah, check this out. This is my Winchester book, and this is a nice signed, and it's a 1 of 1,000 one. There's the author. Pick this book up if you're into Winchesters. It's a huge fat book with tons of cool stuff. And I just wanted to show you why these 1890s are so collectible. Look at how gorgeous some of these are. Like, there's collectors that just collect these things for this reason. Special about this gun is the amount of cool special ones that they made, and that seems to be a magnet for people that want to do checkering and do this beautiful scroll work. I mean, they're like works of art. They are literally works of art, some of these. And, you're going to pay mega thousands for one that looked like this. You know what I mean? But you could buy just a normal, cool-looking, decent-looking one like this that has some wear and tear, but is all in one piece for, you know, definitely less than $1,000. More than 500, less than 1,000. That's where you kind of fall with ones that are like this. You know, you could spend thousands, and you could probably spend a few $100s on a cracked stock, you know, blown out bore parts gun. But one like this, somewhere between five and 8, I would say, which isn't so bad, you know. So this is what got me into these gallery guns. So you definitely have to be careful, because you get one of these and you go, yeah, I just want an early Winchester design. See, there's a lot of collecting facets that mesh, you know, like this. There's people that just collect Winchesters, and then they would, you know, that's one way to fall into this gallery gun trap. And then there's people that collect Browning stuff, and there's another way to fall into that trap, you know. So that's what happens. There aren't many other rifles that have this type of slide action, pump action, trombone action. There's a million different ways to describe this kind of action, but it's a cool kind of action. You never have to take, I think, what they call the action hand off the trigger, which just about every other form of firing you have to. Like if a lever action, you have to shoot, and then you have to take your finger off the trigger. A bolt action, you have to shoot and then take your hand off the trigger. You always have to lose that positive trigger control. What they say is really special about these is that you never really lose that. You have full contact with the trigger. Bang! After you shoot, you're right there, full contact with the trigger. And these are again, these are slam fire. I'm pretty sure. Let's see, like all of these, they pretty much are. If you kept your finger on the trigger after firing, see the hammer. See, now that was interesting. It shouldn't just fall with the bolt. Let's see what happens here. Yeah, see, it's not supposed to do that. I want to check into this myself. Hold off on that slam fire thing, because it might not be. What really should happen is, after you shoot with true slam fire, when you cock it, and as the bolt starts closing, this is what should happen. Your finger should be on the trigger. The hammer should stay back all the way until the bolt closes. Then it should fall again. So if you do it really fast, you don't really see that happening. It kind of looks like the hammer's riding down on the bolt, but it's not. But with this one, it seems like that is what's happening, and that could be part of the problem with the trigger, with the hammer falling on half cock. Could also be why this is not working. I don't think it's supposed to do that, because then it's not going to fire when it comes into battery. That the hammer is just going to be sitting on the firing pin, which is sitting on the rim of the cartridge case. It's not going to fire. So that could be a problem. I don't know if the original, like one that doesn't have an issue, would actually slam fire, but I take that back. This is not slam firing properly. It is riding down on the bolt like that, and it's not supposed to. So I'm going to have to do a little bit more research to see if that's a problem with this gun. But most of these 22 gallery guns do that, you know. So they do slam fire, which is kind of cool. People love that. Something about that, people just love that. Not having that disconnect and being able to shoot them that way. So anyway, that's the Winchester 1890. These things are gorgeous. They really are. This tube is nice. You know what's cool about this one is that I notice a lot of times when they're empty, these tubes have a habit of getting looser, coming looser, falling out. This one is kind of cool because, as you see, it's like that last bit of movement here, putting this in the tube, loads the follower into the tube just a little bit. So it puts just a little bit of spring pressure, enough that when you put that little nub behind there, it stays in there without coming out. So that's like kind of cool. It is one of the my pet peeves with these things is that a lot of these, they come loose. The tubes come loose. So that's kind of cool that even way back before most of these were produced, Browning had an answer for that. So even in 1890, it isn't an issue, but a lot of these guys that designed these things into the 1900s did have that problem. And yep, so that's where we're at. This is a 1925 produced Model 90. It takes 15 rounds. Let's see what else I got written down here. It is the third model. So they have like a couple of different models of these when they first came out in 1890, where these locking lugs were kind of internal. And whatever, they made a couple of changes. There was a second model. This is the third model. And then later on, at 1906, they made some changes to barrel lengths and what rounds they might have been able to fire long rifles by then. In 1906, there were some changes. So there is a Winchester Model 1906 that looks like this, but just has some differences. And then there's another one. Let me see. I forgot exactly, but it's in my Browning book. And then there was another one in Models 90 and the 06 were discontinued in 1932. The Model 62 was discontinued in 1958. So there was a Model 62 that looks like this, that I'm sure had a different barrel length, maybe a round barrel too, and probably fired maybe all three, like short, long, and long rifle. And then even though these were discontinued in 1958, other companies carried on. I've seen ones like copies, like cheaper copies of them. I don't even know the names or whatever, but I have seen them around every once in a while. I'll look at that and I'll be like, oh, is that an 1890? And I'll look at it and I'll be like, no, it's a Harvey McCullum Model 20, like whatever. It's like they copied the design. Maybe it's like it's so old that the patents run out on them, so anybody could just produce one that looks like it. Maybe that's what happens, but I'm trying to remember if it was a Taurus or something, but somebody makes a cheaper version of it, but in my opinion, poke around on Gunbroker and find one of these early ones, these actual Model 90s. This is just an actual Model 90. 22 short only, made in 1925. My opinion, that's kind of where you want to go. Just, look at the pictures good. Make sure that there isn't excessive sanding on the wood. You see a lot of that with these because they're just so old. Just find one that nobody messed with, And if it has like an issue or two like mine have here, you figure it out. Please, somebody, leave a comment. Let me know what part needs to be changed to stop that from happening. And let me know in the comments what 22 gallery gun you want to do next, because I have a bunch of these. I'm not letting you know. I'm not giving you a multiple choice. I just want to know what you want to see. Reason being, if I have it, I'll do a video on it. And if I don't have that gun, I might actually want to take a look on Gunbroker and find out if I need to have it. So let me know what you want to do next. If I don't get a viable answer on what to do next, I will surprise you with the next one. And that's that. Gallery gun time. Let's get crazy. This is the Winchester Model 90. And next, who knows? But I will be there and see you then.